This is the 8BitDo Neogeo wireless controller. Comes in this really nice looking box. Check out this sticker. Funnyverse. The controller will work for Windows, the Neogeo Mini, and Android via Bluetooth. Comes with a manual, a super short USB-C cable. Check this out, it comes with a little adapter too, USB-A to USB-C adapter, and a wireless dongle. I love how this thing looks. This design kind of reminds me of the Mario bricks, you know? Super cool. And here's the controller itself. Check out how cool this looks. I've got the Terry Bogard version. No flex or anything, super high quality. Let's plug this in and I'll let you know whether this guy is good for fighting games or not. Alright, let's address this right out of the gate. You see there's 4 buttons here, 2 shoulder buttons. There's no triggers. In total, you only got 6 buttons to work with. If you're planning to play any games that requires more than that, it's not going to work with this controller. With that out of the way though, the buttons that we do have here are great. These are nice and clicky. They're considerably bigger than your normal controllers, and unlike on most controllers where the face buttons are placed in a diamond shape, this guy is offset. Here's the D, the A is not directly below it, and the C is slightly above the B. This design is more akin to the buttons on an arcade stick. And because of that, I feel the best way to play on this controller is claw, where you can just go back and forth super easily. Where on a regular controller, you got this big old handle here that gets in the way. So you gotta kind of work your way around it. And this is not the most comfortable position. But on this guy, there's no handle or anything. Makes it super easy to play claw. There's quite a bit of space in between the buttons. But if you do decide to play it the regular way, you can still press both of them at the same time, no problem. Overall, I like these face buttons a lot. They work really well. Now let's move on to the shoulder buttons. If you're gonna do a fight pad, this is how you do the shoulder buttons. You place them directly on top of the controller and not on the sides. This way, when you move the joystick or the D-pad, you have leverage on the sides here and you don't accidentally press the shoulder buttons while you're moving the joystick around. And this is an example of how not to do it. You see how the shoulder buttons is taper off here? You're gonna accidentally hit the shoulder buttons here all the time as you move the D-pad around. But you don't have that problem here. There's a lot of room. You can hit it from the outside or the inside. They're nice and clicky and responsive. Alright, let's get right into the D-pad, or the joystick if you will. When I picked this up, I was thinking, how come there's no grip or grooves around the caps? Something like on the Xbox joystick here. But as I play with it more, I realized that having grips on the caps here is probably not a good idea, because you're going to be doing a lot of motion inputs, and having grips here is going to grind up your thumb like crazy. So to me, this is the right decision to make the stick cap smooth like this. Now just by looking at it, you're gonna see 8 arrows. So that's gonna lead you to believe that this is an 8-way joystick. This guy is actually not an 8-way joystick. In fact, it's only 4-way. There's a switch here at the bottom, 1 switch on the right, 1 switch on the top, and 1 switch on the left. There's 4 switches forming a square surrounding the stick. Well, so what? D-pads only have 4 directions too. Why does it matter on this particular case? It actually makes a significant deal when executing diagonals. But for now, I want to say that motion inputs is great on this joystick. Look at that, I didn't even have to buffer to do his throw. It's so good. I can pull off Zangief's throw almost 100% of the time with ease. Initially, I had a lot of trouble executing double quarter circle backwards. It's just really an awkward and slow thing to do. But over time, I did get used to it though, and I can pretty much execute it very consistently now. The key with this joystick is you gotta go all the way down and you gotta hit the corner here and go up, let go, and do it again. It just takes a lot of practice. Motion inputs is top notch on this joystick. It does take some time getting used to it if you are used to playing on D-pads, but this is so good. It's so responsive, it's so quick. This is one of the best controllers when it comes to motion inputs. Now, as good as this joystick is when it comes to motion inputs, unfortunately it's just as bad when it comes to diagonals. A great D-pad or joystick has to be good at both, right? Or has to be decent. But diagonals on this guy is just miserable. It's just terrible, abysmal, whatever word you want to describe it. And the reason for that, as I mentioned earlier, due to the square design of the switches. To execute this move right here, down, forward, and hard punch, right? Simple enough, right? Down, forward, hard punch. All right, yeah, there's no problem there. What are you talking about? Check this out. I'm pretty sure I did a down forward. Okay, now that time it did a down hard punch. In order for the controller to register down forward, imagine this is 360 degrees. You've got only the slight angle at which point you gotta hit both of these switches at the same time. This just drove me nuts, and it really is a serious design flaw, and it's cost me so many matches. When I first got this controller, my first thought was, man, this controller is going to be so good for Soul Calibur. I usually play Claw in Soul Calibur anyways, and really all I need is a responsive joystick to do my 8-way run, and this guy is responsive. However, because of the bad diagonals, I can't execute simple combos. So for example, this guy right here, right? I can't do it, so I can't even launch if I want to. Look at this. It's so frustrating. It's supposed to be that move, follow up with this move right there. I can't execute the first move, let alone the second move. So I got the first move here, and the second move I wanted to do down forward, but it turned out to be forward. It's all bad. Oh, look at that. I finally got lucky and did one. Double taps work well. They're a little slower than buttons though, obviously, just because there's just further travel than on a button. You gotta go all the way here, back, and then go one more time. Alright, final thoughts. I just really love the look and feel of it. It just looks so cool, you know what I mean? It just looks badass. I mean, check out the paintwork on this. It's just sick. And I love everything about this controller except for the diagonals, and that's a huge design flaw in my opinion. So hopefully in the future, instead of taking shortcuts, they actually implement an 8-way switch for this guy. And let me tell you, after reviewing a lot of controllers, I wonder if these companies actually test these controllers out for fighting games. Because honestly, you would notice this right away the minute you get onto a match, because your diagonals just don't work. And maybe the argument is, well, you know, this controller is meant for the Neo Geo Mini, it's meant for arcade games, it's meant for classic games,
is not meant as a controller for fighting games. Well, what do you mean? It's advertised as a King of Fighters 97 fight pad. This is a fight pad, okay? You cannot convince me otherwise. But for what it is, this is probably an amazing controller for retro games. But for fighting games though, not so good. This controller is the perfect example of making all the right decisions except for one, and it would just ruin the whole thing. If only they've made this thing an actual 8-way joystick, this thing would have been one of my favorite controllers ever. But as it stands, it's literally unusable. Alright, hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a like, subscribe for more, and take care now.